Good morning. You just don't know how I love to stand up here. I'm an energy junkie. I should have had him tell you that. And the energy in this space is always unbelievable. So before I even get into anything else, I want to challenge everybody who's here about that north wall. I look at that window and I imagine, I now have seen the video that's on the Kickstarter campaign, scared the wits out of me, because I just have visions of that window being gone. So my challenge to you is not that you dig deep and you put money out there, because I grew up in a church that did that a lot. You know, we got letters from the bishop saying, time to contribute to this or that. My challenge to you is to live your trust. And if you don't think you have anything to give to this Kickstarter campaign, I challenge you to challenge Spirit and say, I want to. I don't know how. Because see, part of my learning in all the years I've been doing this work is that the answer to how is yes. So if you're saying, well, I'd really like to give, but I don't know how, I don't have the money. Don't ask how, say yes. And say yes to Spirit and say, I need some money to make sure that wall doesn't fall down. And I would bet you that in the next week, Spirit will send you something. And when you get it, you're going to go, oh my God, it really worked. So you don't have to dig it out of your pocket. Just become, I channel. I know how this works. Just become a conduit. You can be the conduit for money that somebody else has that's going to come through you to fix that wall. I bet you it works. That's my challenge to you, is that you trust that in this coming week you're going to get some extra money somewhere. And when you do, you don't have to give it all, but give something. Because it's the intention. It's saying yes. When we step up and contribute to that wall, then when we bring in $10,000 and we can start to stabilize that wall, then all the people with the big money who make the grants and take care of buildings like this are going to know we're serious about it. So that's my challenge to you. And it's part of the topic for today, which is releasing the real you. Now, Gary comes up with these, or somewhere we come up with these, and every time I'm going to do the 10:30, I say to myself, what am I going to say about that? And then I realize that I'm just supposed to be that conduit. I'm just supposed to open up and give you back what your energy out there is asking for. That's what I do. I teach you what you're asking, what you're asking the questions, and I'm trying to funnel the answers out to you. The first thing about releasing the real self is, what the heck is your real self? Who are you? Many of you heard me say my favorite class I ever taught was one titled, I Could Manifest Anything If I Only Knew What I Wanted. I could be a really authentic person if I only knew who I really was. We go through so many transitions. I heard it described, this past year, 2014, I heard described as the year that you really went into your authentic self. And one person asked in a reading one time, what's that all about? And Essence said to her, it's not about becoming somebody new. It's not about becoming a new person. It's about getting rid of all the stuff that isn't you until the real you is all that's left. And it's interesting because in coaching, when I coach somebody, I always assume they come to me because they want something in their life to change. And so very often, what they said they came for is not really what they need or what they want. We'll end up starting there, and we'll end up finishing with something totally different. And one of the ways we find out what really is their big A agenda for change is to find out what has value. If I say to someone, what are your values? They mix it up with valuable. What makes me valuable? That's not it at all. What are your values? What has value to you? There are people who their real core value is family. They want to get married, they want to have children, they want to put all of their energy into that. Someone else may choose that what's really has value to them is to be productive in the corporate world or in the artistic world. Those are your core values. And those are what make you who you really are. Where you get off the track and where you get unhappy is when you're the person who wants to grow up to be an artist and your dad wants you to be a carpenter. Or you're the person who wants to be a teacher and your mother wants you to marry a doctor. When you try to live your life by someone else's values, because what's valued to them is like maybe way down on the list for you, no way you're going to be happy. Not only are you not going to be happy, but eventually one day you're going to wake up and go, oh my God, my mother did this to me, or my dad did this to me. No, they didn't. Do you have this little thing called free will, which we conveniently set aside when we want to blame somebody else for decisions we made? It's really hard, but I would suggest to all of you that we are in an energy period right now where we really need to live our values. We really need to be focusing on what is important to us, because we are creating the world by the energy we put out. And if we're unhappy and we're miserable, it goes out and it comes back. Nothing goes away. It just goes around. So a really basic definition of values, core values, are this is what I need in my life, no matter where I am, no matter who I'm with, and no matter what I'm doing. It sounds crazy, but I know that I cannot work in a place where I don't have a window. I truly can't. I spent a year trying to do it in a job I really loved, and I couldn't do it. I grew up in the country. I grew up with space. I need space. I need to be able to see grass. It didn't help that when I was working that year, we were on a 4-day week, so we started at 7:30 and worked until 5:30, so it was dark when I went and dark when I went home in the wintertime. I know that about myself. I also know about myself that if I'm not careful, I can become the world's worst caretaker. It's sort of like, I think they should have Caretakers Anonymous, where I could go and say, I'm Lynda and I'm a recovering caretaker. Some of you may have heard me say, I raised caretaking to an art form. I was so good at it. Until the day that I realized that, oh my gosh, I'm not really taking care of all these people because I want to, because actually I hate it. I'm doing it for two reasons. One, I was taught as a kid that I'm the oldest and that's my job. I'm supposed to. I'm the oldest of 6. I'm a girl in an agricultural community. You fit in where you fit in, and that means you take care of everybody. That was the one reason. The second reason was nothing but pure old ego. If I can't go to school and I can't be a teacher, then I'm going to take care of everybody and I'm going to prove that I'm better than they are because they can't take care of themselves. The only thing that scared me worse than not taking care of everybody was being an egomaniac. Because I wasn't supposed to have any ego. That was one of the rules too. So when I realized how much ego was involved, it was like, oh my God, I can't do that anymore. Then I went hard over the other way and tried to explain to people why ego is not a bad thing. Ego, 4 years of Latin, I am. I am. That's all that the ego is. It's asking, who are you? I am. It's helping you define yourself. And you need that. Because if you don't define yourself, everybody else is going to. So then how do you know who you really are? So you start out coming into this life knowing nothing. You go up into adolescence with your family and your community and sometimes your church, all telling you who you ought to be. Till you get to be a teenager and you don't have a clue who you are, but you don't like who you are very much. And you don't like the people who are telling you who you are. Unless you're a first kid who knows that your job is to take care of everybody, so you're just taking all that in and soaking it up like a sponge. There comes a time, for some of us, it's very young. I am so in awe of the younger ones who rebelled early, because I didn't. I followed the rules right on through for a long, long time. When I said I'm weird, that's what it feels like to me, because it's like all of a sudden I looked around and went, none of this has value to me. What does have value to me? Learning, asking questions, teaching people, conversations that are less than an inch deep. You know, they go way down. I decided that I could start to explore who I really was. I turned 74 on Monday, and I'm still at it. I'm still uncovering new pieces of who I am. And that's what you have to realize. You grow, and as you grow, you change and you learn. And if you're smart and if you're wise, you will embrace that. You will realize that where you are today isn't the end. You're going to be a different person tomorrow. You've all heard that thing about what is every 14 days all the cells in your body change. Do something with that. You don't have to be locked into anything. There's always more to you. The real you shows up when you begin to pay attention to yourself. When you begin to get up in the morning and do something, and then you look at yourself and you go, am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing this because I'm supposed to, or am I just doing it because it's my default? Question your defaults. It's mindfulness, people. It's living mindfully. It's making conscious choices about who you're going to be. And then you let the doing flow out of the being. It's, don't ever ask, what am I going to do? The question is, who are you going to be? Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And then it's that same thing of saying, okay, Spirit, God, the one, whatever name you give to it, it's love. It's just pure love. You can call it whatever you want. And then you say, this is what I want. This is how I want to feel. And I don't know how to make that happen. As soon as you ask for help, you get it. Trust me, it's one of the three main things I know in all my life. If you ask for help, it comes. Just keep your eyes open because it might not show up in the way you think. And when you start to see it, it shows up in different ways. And when you start to go, oh my God, that answered my, That's why I challenged you guys this morning. I want you all to have that experience this week to go, oh my God, she said there was going to be money showing up, and there it is. Don't forget it. When you get it, remind yourself, that really worked. Because then you trust it more and more and more. That's being real. Being real is realizing that you don't have to do it alone. You don't get extra credit if you do it by yourself. You don't get extra credit if it's hard. I still cherish the day I did a reading for someone and Essence said, self-sacrifice is still sacrifice, and that's so Old Testament. It's not about dying for it, it's living for it. When I was growing up as the first kid, taking care of everybody else, thinking that's really making me happy, I felt really fulfilled. Well, I was full of something that wasn't very pleasant. But I used to feel like I would go to Catholic school and we would learn about martyrs and saints, and I used to think, honest to God, this is true, and I bet you there's a whole lot of Catholic girls that thought this. I used to think, I wish I could be a martyr. I wish somebody would just attack me and kill me because that would be so great. It's all done then. And even that, do you see, it's not making a conscious choice. It's totally passive. That was who I was. But it was not the real me. And just this week, I discovered more things about myself. I was 60 years old before I realized that almost all of my decisions were being made by a committee of 12 people behind me, 10 of whom were dead. My family, the nuns that taught me, my grandparents, they all gave me guidelines, rules, and I was nothing if not a rule keeper. I did not break the rules for a long time. But once I got the hang of it, it was really kind of fun. And what I realize is my life is a lot like my religious journey. I followed the rules for so long, and then a few things happened that really challenged that. My son became ill, and my religion gave me no support. It didn't help at all. I had to go inside and ask, I don't know how I'm going to handle this. I didn't realize it, but that was about the first time I got to that You know, they call it let go and let God. I call it what do you call it? Assigning tasks. My job is to ask, the universe's job is to answer. And sometimes no is an answer. I said, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to handle this. And so the universe came in and gave me a miracle. That's pretty cool. And the amazing part about it was, as time went on, you know, I mean, I'm not kidding. A neurosurgeon came to my door on Memorial Day, drove in my driveway, neurosurgeon, big guy, and grabbed me and swung me around my front yard hollering, "It's gone, it's gone, it's gone." And the tumor that was supposed to kill my son was just gone. I am a great believer in miracles because I have so many in my life. 10, 12 years ago, my youngest son was challenged by his step-grandson because the kid went to my son's wife and said, "Will you fix me some red Jell-O?" And she said, "Brendan, what do you want red Jell-O for?" "So I can spit red in the sink like Grandpa." And my dad and my son had a tumor. He went into surgery with the expectation they would take part of a lobe and possibly a whole lobe. When they got in there, everything was contained in the bronchial tube. It was snip, snip, sew the ends together, go home. I have 2 miracles in my life. 2 spectacular miracles, but unbelievable number of other miracles. And every one of them has come in a place where I have said, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know what to do with this. It's not that it always happens that way, because I have a brother who died when he was 18 in an auto accident, after the result of an auto accident, horribly, and fractured my family. Never, ever, put back together again. When my dad died a few years ago, he said to me, "Lynda, I just want to tell you, I don't think I handled it very well when Larry died." And I, coach that I am, caretaker no more, said to him, "You're right, Dad, you didn't. But we understand." I didn't tell him it was okay, because it wasn't okay. "You didn't, but we understand." All of these things brought me into more reality of who I was. How did I deal with that? What did I, When I quit following the rules that someone else had given me and started questioning, when he said that, my thought was, how do I want to respond? What's the real answer? The way I originally would have been say, "Oh, it's okay, Dad, it was all right, it's all right." No, that's a lie, it wasn't all right. How do I say what I need to say without anger, without rancor, without blame? How do I say what I need to say with compassion? "You're right, Dad, you didn't. But we understand." It served both of us. I learned that when I quit following the rules, I could be so much more present for other people. When I'm not looking in my head for what's the right answer, when I'm looking in my head for what's the loving answer, that's the difference. That's where real comes in. I stopped looking for what I was supposed to say, and I've asked myself for the last several years, what would love say here? What would love say here? Because I am, as all of you are, a physical manifestation of love. Our purpose, we all have the same purpose. It is to be a physical manifestation of love. You're here as little pieces of God, representatives. I think of us sometimes as God sort of reigning on the earth to try and make it grow. That's our job. And the only way we can do that is to remember it's not about following the rules. It's about creating a whole new way of being. The message is not you're here to do love. It's you're here to be love. How you do that is what makes you real. We all have different opportunities. We all have different challenges. Anybody that says there's rules that are going to cover everybody is nuts. That's what's so great about this community. I had dinner with my son and his wife the other day, and they go to a fairly traditional, I would call Protestant church, you know? And I'm very happy for them because it works for them and they love it, and it's their families all come together and it's really good for them. And the question came up about, I think his wife said, but I thought you were a non-denominational community. Because I was talking about their window. I thought you were non-denominational. I said, well, they used to say that, but now we're a multi-denominational community, which I like much better. That means everybody's welcome. And she said, well, you know, they have trouble because they think if you're not in an organized religion, you're not Christian. I think of what we do here as supporting the basic love tenets of just about every religion, including Christianity. So there is no rule. There's a suggestion. Wouldn't it be great if you all loved each other? Wouldn't life be easier if you all supported each other? What do you think about that, you know? And how you do that is totally up to you. How you celebrate that is up to you, because that's what I think we do here in community. We celebrate what we're doing and how we're feeling and how we're being with each other. That's real. How you show up. Some of us contribute. I can never go a Sunday without just getting up and saying thank you for Jay Peterson for all the work he's done on our materials and the website and everything. That's how he shows up. Victor walked in the door a while back and has just committed himself to this Kickstarter campaign. And I can tell you there is nobody who's been going to this church for, I don't care if you've been here since 1916, you do not love this building more than he does. It's how, that's your real, that's your reality. That's how you give. You give from who you are. And that's so much more powerful than every Sunday going, oh God, I gotta write another check. That kind of giving is supported with energy. That kind of giving is a model for everybody else. It's real when it comes from your heart. That's what's the real you. My source said one time, and that's another classic, she said, if you are doing good, good gets done. If you are being good, that's something different. And even if you guys have heard this, I'm going to tell you again because it just resonates. If you fill sandbags when there's a flood, if you take sandwiches to the hungry, if you give blood when there's an emergency, that's really wonderful. If you do it because you should, if you do it because your neighbor's doing it, so you feel bad if you don't, people get sandwiches, they get sandbags, they get blood. But if you do anything because your life is so rich and so good and so joyful that you have an overflow and you want to share that love and that experience, and you fill sandbags from that place of joy that you can be there to help, and you make sandwiches because you are so grateful that your life has been blessed, and you see those other people as your brothers, not just the needy. And if you give blood because you are so grateful that you're healthy and you can do it, they get way more than sandwiches, sandbags, and blood. It's the intention, it's the energy, and that's the real you. Ask yourself, why do I do what I do? There's this, the unexamined life is not worth living. Oh, yes, it is. Because any single day you can choose to examine it. Nobody's ever lost. I woke up at 60 and said, this ain't working. And I've changed a lot of things since then. And I will tell you, I think I'm youthening. I don't think I'm getting older, I think I'm youthening. Because my life is fuller and my life is richer and it has all this wonderful energy in it because I chose to say what's valuable to me is community and love and service. The reason I'm standing here today is because I was so bummed with what I was doing in my coaching and my teaching and my workshops. They were all good. I have fans all over the world. But it wasn't feeding my soul. And I said, I want to do more public speaking because I think I've got something to say. And in my head, my logical brain, bless its little heart, said, okay, you have to join the National Speakers Bureau, you have to get, you have to build your way up, all the stuff that Teresa's done. It's hard work. And then I said, no, I do not want to do that. I just want to do more speaking. I just want to teach. Just tell me where to stand. And my phone rang. True, honest to God, true story. Happens to me all the time. My phone rang. I picked it up. It's Teresa Rose. She goes, hi, would you like to speak Memorial Day Sunday, 10:30 at Lake Harriet? Yeah. And we all know what happened from there. I found this spiritual home that I had been seeking for 25 years. I would do anything I could for this community. And so I give from my overflow. I've spent my life gathering wisdom so I can feed it to you guys. Ask me whatever you want. I'll give you a straight answer. Because I don't follow the rules anymore. And I stop before I say anything and say, what does love want now? I did a reading this week for a woman who has rectal cancer that has metastasized into her liver. And it was one of the most joyous experiences I've had. I learned so much. Who is the real you? How do you release the real you? The real you is different today than it was yesterday. The real you will be different tomorrow. If we're lucky, we're new every day. The key is to make sure it's you, that you're not doing what someone else told you you have to do, that you're not falling back into the default, because I've always done it that way. It is about being mindful. I used to feel so guilty that I didn't have a spiritual practice. And now I realize every day is my spiritual practice. Every morning when I wake up, I try to say yes to that day. Yes to whatever's going to come, because I know there's going to be something new, and there's going to be something wonderful, and there's going to be an opportunity for me to serve, and there's going to be an opportunity for me to choose to make a loving choice. I guarantee the same is true for you. Every single day, you are given the opportunity to be the real you, whoever the real you is for that day. And what you learn, you grow on, and you take into the next day, and you become the real you. And when you begin to show up in the world as that, you know, I have some of my kids who still don't see me any different than they did when they were little. And I had David, who has consistently put his foot in my butt and moved me forward and said, do it. I have a sister-in-law who is like a closet junkie who reads everything I write, and now they're not going to be able to watch YouTube because I'll out her on that. I have a sister who chooses to not talk about it. Don't challenge me with that. I love them. They can be, that's who they really are today. Tomorrow they may be somebody else. Bring love into every single choice you make. If you're somewhere and you see something that doesn't look like love, ask yourself, what would love look like there, and then be that. Because that's who you really are. When all of the other stuff is gone, you are physical manifestation of love. So, from a place of reality, from a place of who you are in this world, understanding that when you stand in your truth and your reality, the whole universe is more aligned with truth. When the universe is aligned with truth, you've done your job. Your job right now is to realize who you are, what's important to you, honor that, support your own choices, stop judging yourselves, and love yourself as you are loved. I invite you to send love around the circle to your left, around the circle to your right, and I invite each of you in your own heart to put that love into the center of this circle and share it with the whole world today. Aho. Thank you so much.